What is up, guys? Welcome back. We are jumping in, picking up where we left off after game 5 of the Minnesota Timberwolves Denver Nuggets series, second round. What a night. Felt very historic for many reasons. I think we have, of course, the historic Hallmark movie scene where the superstar running uphill finally gets his kind of triumphant win and big reveal to the broader public, and they can understand his greatness in terms that they get, aka simpleton terms. We also have the young up-and-coming superstar and Anthony Edwards. Obviously got tripped up pretty hard, especially without the floor general veteran presence, Mike Conley, who unfortunately couldn't play. Also had weird wrinkles with Chris Finch, sitting on the sidelines, not able to coach. And Ant struggled, of course, a lot of exaggerated double teams, and, Wolves had a lot of issues on offense, and, of course, Denver did what it should have done. So I'm going to double-click on all of that, but we're just going to start quickly with Jokic. It is a fabulous performance, absolute masterpiece, a privilege to watch, particularly the third quarter, of course, where Denver more or less starts on an 11-2 run at sort of the top echelon of the quarter, and then Jokic doesn't even score until 6.5 minutes are left in the quarter, and he finishes with 16 points by the end of the quarter and spearheads basically a 12-4 run, and I think it was even worse if you go all the way through the end of the quarter. Jokic has 16 in the quarter, including 10 straight points for Denver, and it was probably the most, give me the ball and F off moments, full-on jump inside my backpack territory, and he just time after time, I think Minnesota was playing the chicken game and trying to call Jokic's bluff as far as, by the third straight bucket, there's no way he's going to take it again at Rudy and whatever after establishing the scoring threat downhill. He'll probably pass, right? No, he didn't. He did not. He just kept on scoring on Gobert, which is obviously why you're going to see all the headlines clowning Rudy, which I'm sure if you have any degree of respect for the game or just more than a handful of brain cells, you'll recognize that Rudy is by far not alone in this. I don't think there is a soul on this planet besides Victor Wembanyama, maybe, that could have meaningfully disrupted this supernova by Jokic. So all credit to Jokic again. Just that level of commanding of the moments, and especially factoring in the context of the series. Obviously, game 5s are very critical, tied 2-2. I think it's 80-something% of the time the winner of a game 5 goes on to win the series if it's tied going into it. So, big deal, a lot of pressure there. Also within the series, Denver hadn't won a home game yet, which is crazy. Obviously, they lost 2 straight to start, and things are looking a lot better now. But after the second loss, consecutive one, you had a ton of the Jokic doubters kind of coming up from the shadows, and a lot of, I think, doubters were kind of having a field day. A lot of I told you so's, and especially last year, I think I still had the sense before this series that Denver was enjoying really relishing that golden age era like the Warriors had when they were playing their brand of basketball, and the league just literally hadn't caught up yet with how to beat them. So the Warriors were they won like 73 games in the regular season or something. Like, that's insane. And there's just a delay there. Like, you just don't know how to actually disrupt it. So before the series, getting punched in the mouth, like meaningfully in a real sense, going down 0-2 and the second loss, pretty historically embarrassing. Big wake-up call. And Malone has talked about it. Jokic, Murray have talked about it in their post-game pressers. And all of that bubbling up to this game. So a lot of the doubters were emerging. You know, you lose in the second round to a 22-year-old, basically, with a crappy offense. There definitely were quite a number of, you know, like just doubters, haters that kind of came out of nowhere. And so, yeah, this all culminated in a 40-point night. He missed 7 shots, went 2 for 3 from 3, got to the free throw line 9 times, had 13 assists and 2 steals, was a plus 21 game high, plus 21 on off differential. I don't think you can script a better, like, I've arrived moment, kind of, even though, again, he just got his 3rd MVP. Oh, yeah, also, that's another reason. He just got his 3rd MVP. I think, I don't know, Shaq on that video call that went viral, right, said, congrats, I had Shea Gilgeous-Alexander winning, but I'm proud of you, whatever. Weird backhanded compliments, and Shaq is just bleeding insecurity. But that is a perfect microcosm to resemble and depict a lot of this uphill battle that I think Jokic specifically has had to overcome. And he did it all with seemingly carrying the least of any player on payroll in the league. So that is what I will say there. Commanded the game, took their souls, and, goes without saying, after that insane scoring outburst in the third quarter, they basically started the fourth quarter, went on an 8-0 run from the 9.5 to about the 7-minute mark, and that was it. Basically, they were up by 18 almost halfway through the fourth. So took their souls. Great. So what I want to talk about now is, while Jokic deserves a ton of credit, again, for everything I just laid out, I think that with all things, there are 2 sides, not only to just view that, but 2 sides to interpret what that amounted to from a team-level perspective. Especially Jokic's scoring outbursts, yeah, that's great. But what really, in my opinion, matters is the 12-4 run. So you can't stop Jokic. Nobody can, but you're also not scoring. And I want to talk about Minnesota's offensive quicksand problem, because I truly think that that is the real battleground of this series and has been. So it is awesome to have the top-rated defense and to have the size and length and schema in place to slow down Jokic and Denver's offensive machine. But it is fruitless if you can't capitalize on the other end of the floor. Denver is going to score on you. It doesn't matter. Like, the best defense in the league can slow him down and slow them down, but it doesn't matter if you're not scoring. And that, to me, was by far, well, not by far, but that was kind of the bigger team-level story to me. Yeah, it's awesome that we have all this, legacy lore stuff. I'm not trying to downplay that, but take a step back and just think about this. Every run is a output and product of offense and defense. And so this is what I mean when I say this is the biggest battleground. Denver's offensive machine, designed, built, bulletproof, proven, great. Minnesota's defensive machine, designed, built, pretty bulletproof as much as you can get on their end. So basically, Minnesota's end of the floor, I'm not trying to say it's a wash, but it's kind of-ish there, as, you know, slowing Denver down as much as you could hope to do, basically, which renders the actual fight and battleground being on the other end. Can Denver's defense hold up and stop Anthony Edwards? Can it stop Naz Reid coming off the bench with their bench guys and yada yada? And that's what I want to get to as far as last night. So the no Conley quicksand, mentioned a couple things about this before, but Denver did exactly what they should have. So the news that Conley wasn't going to be playing dropped, I don't know, an hour maybe before tip-off. And I won't lie, I figured immediately after getting the news that it wasn't gonna happen for the Wolves, and it's for offensive reasons, truly. Denver doubled the crap out of Anthony Edwards, their 22-year-old Batman, and the way to punish double teams is to pass out of it quickly and successfully, and whoever you make that first pass to is the most important player on the floor at that point for the offensive team, because they have to be able to very, very quickly decide and make a decisive decision about play make, drive in, attract more attention, right? 4-on-3. We've all seen the same Luka Doncic movie, whatever, and inserting Alexander Walker into the starting lineup, while very much a serviceable offensive player, he's basically been their KCP this whole year. And think about it on Denver's end. I mean, if Jokic was just like Zubats, for example, or a normal center, you're not going to have KCP be a secondary ball handler. You know what I mean? I don't, whatever. If you have feelings about that, you got to look in the mirror. But you understand my point. So that kind of outlet presence, I think, was the entire reason that they lost, is like, as the game went on and had 4 turnovers, like, he clearly realized, or he clearly showed everybody he didn't trust or was grappling with trusting Alexander Walker, other perimeter guys on the floor. With being that outlet guy, Denver was inhaling the turnovers and making it, or just stalling the offense. Like, they couldn't make good shots. They couldn't get open shots, or a ton of them consistently. And so that was the biggest thing that stood out to me. It was like the outlet for Ant double teams was always Conley. Conley had an incredible season for shooting from beyond the arc. He's also literally a polished veteran point guard that is going to be able to make those very, very quick decisions correctly. And so I think at the same time, the fact that he was such a good shooter and such a good, outlet for these doubles, I think it's also the reason why we hadn't seen this level of aggression in doubling Ant this entire series. Like, you can go watch clips of that game, and it was kind of watching Minnesota's alter ego defend itself, where it was like, you only have one really good offensive player, and we are just going to have our kind of Jaden McDaniels and just kind of eat them alive. Like, I get flashbacks to that game too, with Jamal Murray getting just swallowed by these dudes, barely getting across half court, right? So credit to Denver, did exactly what they should have been doing. I would say also, generally speaking, just the floor general stuff, you didn't have Coach Finch on the sideline, and again, obviously Conley is on the sideline too. So the floor general is a 22-year-old, which is kind of tough, man. And it's a lot to ask and to do. And of course, you have Karl-Anthony Towns there, but we all kind of see what that kind of means or amounts to. And so you lose floor management, you lose leadership, you lose playmaking and facilitation, you lose outside perimeter shooting. And as Finch noted in his postgame, that just meant there was a ton of pressure on Alexander Walker and Jaden to knock in their open threes. And there were a handful of, I think Finch's word was naked, just naked looks from the outside, like wide open. And Jaden and, Alexander Walker definitely missed a few. I mean, Alexander Walker went, 4 for 8. I mean, going 50% from 3 is like pretty good. But again, with the pressure thing with Al Conley is like you really, really needed to hit more in order to meaningfully change this game. And so that was one thing. All right, that's just the Conley piece. Next is capitalizing on size. So this is something Rudy said in the postgame, and I also noticed it, had it in my notes throughout the game. Minnesota is huge, relatively speaking, and especially with their starting lineup last night, where it was Ant at the 1 and Alexander Walker at the 2. That is enormous. Ant, Alexander Walker, Jaden, Cat, Gobert. Like, wow, really long. But they didn't really capitalize on it. And I thought that related to Conley as well. The entry passing wasn't there. Everybody knows Denver is very long and, maybe not at the same defensive level or threshold as Minnesota. They're very, very disruptive. So being able to make effective entry passes to get the ball to Gobert, it didn't look easy at all. And there were a few times when, there's one sequence I'm remembering in particular where Minnesota was able to get, I think, 2 offensive rebounds in possession, just like the Knicks, and it ultimately ended up in somebody finally getting a pass down low to Gobert, who had been switched on to Holiday somehow and all the craziness, and Holiday had to immediately foul him, but it took like 6, 7, 8 seconds and I'm sorry, I'm forgetting who the actual ball, it was probably Ant, honestly, but like Rudy is like save our ship, waving his hands, like, please, Jesus, get me the ball. This dude is half of my size. And it just took way too long. And again, credit to Denver. The length is there. The defensive pressure, I'm sure, was there as well. But that was just something I realized. And it's not like Rudy really helps himself. Like, let's be honest here. He has maybe the worst hands of anybody in the league that plays a high impact role. I fundamentally don't understand. I'm almost impressed. It's almost impressive how terrible his hands are with the ball. Yeah. So as far as what kind of threshold and how much flexibility you really have on maybe not making the best sort of entry passes down there, well, if Rudy literally has to dribble, it's over. Like, it's basically done. So I just think that is a really, really unfortunate shortcoming, frankly. And, and it manifests itself in different ways as well, because there were times, not actually last night, I'm just remembering this off the dome, the night before, where Rudy was getting boxed out. Oh, no, it was last night. I see it right here. In the fourth quarter, 3 minutes, 30 seconds left, Rudy was getting boxed out from getting an offensive rebound by Jamal Murray. Like, he's just not one, he's very, very skinny. So, like, he's very long, very big, but he's not kind of built. So, like, he's getting boxed out by smaller guys, doesn't have hands to really catch the ball, and, has no floor game whatsoever. And you see these screens or whatever he sets, and then every time he dives, especially when Ant was getting doubled, if he made the right move, got off the ball quick, got it into Gobert in the middle of the floor. Again, he can't dribble, he can't shoot, he can't do a push shot, he can't get around guys, he can't get fouls like an actual player can and whatever. So it's just like really tough, man. Really, really tough to watch, if I'm being totally honest with you. And it is amazing, of course. Defensive Player of the Year worthy, incredible anchor. Finch has talked about, and Ant has talked about as well. The cultural tone setter that Rudy is on the defensive end. Guy has a lot of pride about it, and I respect it. I respect the hell out of it. I do. It still hurts my eyeballs to watch that man do anything but finish lobs. And, you know, that's where you watch Dallas play with Luka and Kyrie. It's like, dude, if you don't have guards that can actually beat guys one-on-one and create some kind of advantage down low to get these lobs to them, like, you're screwed. And again, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to kill Alexander Walker here. Fantastic bench player, not a primary or not even a secondary initiator, frankly. And so, yeah, it was tough. So capitalizing on size, that's just something to keep in mind. Obviously, Conley, I think, is going to help with that, but that is just something I think more strategically Minnesota needs to be aware of. And then the last thing is just making open shots. So mention that. They were able to generate a few open shots. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it would have completely done a 180 of the entire game and the trajectory of the game, but that's just the reality. When you don't have that big of a margin of error, like when you make open shots with half a ball handling initiator, you have to hit them. So, and I think Finch called that out too. He's like, Jaden, they needed to hit him, so we didn't stand a chance. All right. The other things I wanted to mention, so offensive rebounds were even, but again, with the size thing, you would think that the Wolves would have an offensive rebounding advantage, or I don't know. I mean, I know they were even, but just 8 in 48 minutes does not feel like enough to me. And excuse me, I think this is where you give credit to Denver's adjustment of pushing the pace, because everything about Jokic's game is predicated on proximity to the rim. And there were so many times I actually responded to guys on Twitter who were calling this out, like, Rudy, you're not even trying to offensive rebound, you're not trying to crash. And I'm like, dude, listen to the post games that I put out there. You don't have that many ways to really, air quote, disrupt Jokic. One of the very few ways you have is to just try and force him to not at least get the entry pass, or just dribble up so he can get that close to the post, to the rim. And the only way to do that is to beat him down the floor, obviously. And so I noticed that a lot. And it was like the threat of, one, Jokic being the primary initiator, so not even bothering with Jamal because they have tremendous guard pressure, and it became very clear in game 2. They wanted that, and they will eat Jamal Murray alive, basically. And so you have to beat Jokic on the floor. And that is just kind of an advantage, I guess, that Denver has. You can, maybe think about some of their other guys. Again, they do have a lot of length, so whatever. But when the entire team of Denver is so clearly bought in on and focused on pushing the pace, you're just kind of one bad gamble away from borderline an automatic basket, especially when Jokic is cooking. So that is just really tough, something to weigh. And I think that connects nicely to the last thing here about going to Game 6 is the Rudy versus Naz Reid thing. Naz is really, really mobile for a guy his size. He maybe doesn't seem like it. I know he's got kind of these squared robot shoulder things. I don't know. But, tremendous touch around the rim. Like, really, really good, I think, straight line speed. If Rudy's not able to help them capitalize offensively with their size, you might just have to ask Naz, hey, man, one, I know Jokic has been killing you all series. It's abundantly clear at this point Jokic is going to go right at Naz Reid as soon as he's in the game, and that was a huge reason behind Game 4 as well. When Denver kind of took that game by the throat in the second quarter when Naz got that terrible foul. But again, this is the kind of chess match that you're in. If Rudy's not stopping Jokic and Rudy's not benefiting you offensively, Naz Reid can stretch the floor. He can potentially crash the offensive boards better while also being able to get back faster to try and disrupt Jokic. Obviously, if you have Cat there as well, that would be the primary one. Cat has weirdly done the best in the league or something on defending Jokic, although after this series that might have dropped. It probably has, but before the series he had. So you know what I'm saying. I just think that very well could be a paradigm Chris Finch and Micah Nori find themselves in, where it honestly might be worthwhile doing it, especially if you can get Naz going from the outside. We all saw what happened in Game 1 and Game 2. Naz is a beast, man. Naz is a beast when you get him going. The lights are very, very bright in this series, and I very much see him as a pylon guy, where if Ant's got it going or someone else has got it going, then Naz is going to do it. I don't really trust Naz, unfortunately, to really, really spearhead an incredible energy shift, but that's just an idea. Another one is Monte Morris. So he only got in for, 10 minutes or something last night. Again, with Conley being out, it's really not that big of a surprise. But, there were just a few times where he was actually kind of diving downhill, and one was taking guys by surprise, but, two was just presenting additional veteran presence, where I think his first basket was a deep 2, but it was very calm, under control. I think Reggie even made a comment on the broadcast about it, but that was just something I noticed. Obviously, in that Tyus Jones kind of realm, where not going to turn the ball over a ton, also probably not going to pop off for 20-plus points. So, I don't know. I just liked his steadiness. I thought that was, a very, very small silver lining there, considering if Conley is out or something and, pending lineups and stuff. I just kind of wrote that down. And then the only other positive I had was creating open looks. So even still with the double teams and everything else and the just super high pressure on the other guys that weren't named Anthony Edwards to basically make plays, they definitely created more than a handful of open looks, which at the time, and I think Nah mentioned this in the postgame, could have gotten pretty close. So they took the lead. I think with 9-ish minutes. Yeah, they took the lead with 9-ish minutes left in the third. So pretty early on. And kind of what unprepared teams versus champion level teams, what usually happens is pretty good until it's not good at all. And the wheels come off and you just don't have answers. So, that is that. All right. So other things that I found a little bit interesting, worth mentioning. To put a ribbon on the size thing and then not capitalizing enough, Denver was plus 14 points in the paint, and they, have their Jokic and AG thing or whatever going on. Obviously, Cat is a floor spacer, but again, back with the whole size thing, I think that is pretty emblematic of that, the entry passing and whatnot. The points off turnovers, Minnesota had 3 more than Denver, and Denver had 6 more points, so about proportional. But that was kind of a piece of it. Minnesota did have 5 more second chance points, but they made 6 fewer field goals. So they got held to 31% from beyond the arc. And they also missed 6 free throws out of 19. So, I mean, shooting 68% from the free throw line, especially when you're just desperate for every kind of offense as you can. It's just going to be tough, man. So, in summary, incredible offensive masterpiece from Nikola Jokic for a variety of reasons in the broader storyline of the league. I'm really happy for him. I'm really happy for Denver fans. A lot of doubters out there, not just fans either, media, players, what have you, analysts. It was great. And I think, again, the just language of this dominance is what people had wanted or what it maybe was required he do to get the level of acceptance. And that's unfortunate, right? Especially coming from Europe, where, what is the saying? I think he said in an interview one time where it was like, when he came over to the States, he noticed, like, I don't want to play a game where we take 2,000 shots. I play a game where we take 200 good shots or something like that. And I just say that to say people are just dumb and have no attention span, and they just want to see tough shots and dunks. And and so that's kind of it. And so, generally speaking, it's kind of just not just ethical basketball, it's just smarter basketball that is just more surgical and tactical with a little less box office entertainment value. And so, some of these finishes he was putting on were just absolutely otherworldly, and anybody can appreciate that. So I'll just stop there. Good for them. And then the other thing is, yes, it was amazing he did that, but Minnesota's offense is the main thing that the series hinges on. Because even though Minnesota is built to slow down Denver on the defensive end, on their end of the floor, it doesn't matter if you're not capitalizing on it offensively. Chris Finch mentioned that in the post-game where the offense let them down. Rudy also said it exactly the same way, funny enough. The offense hurt their defense. They had poorly timed turnovers. They just couldn't generate or capitalize on the open looks that they were generating. But anyway, Minnesota's offense is really everything that hinges on this entire series. So no Conley, I think, kind of killed this embryo in the womb, so to speak. That's not an awesome metaphor, but you understand what I mean. I had no faith in this working. And again, I don't think Jokic even needed to have this level of masterpiece for the Nuggets to handily win this game. Like, they could have won this game with Jokic getting like 25, 15, and 12, I would think. But hey, all good to him. And again, it basically all happened. A lot of the insane scoring run in the box office stuff, it happened in like half a quarter. So if anything, I think that should add even more special pixie dust of legacy and stuff onto this game for him. It was like half a quarter, and he just utterly just annihilated an entire team's soul in a playoff game in half a quarter by himself. All right. So that is all, guys. We are really excited for Game 6. It is going to be home in Minnesota. I mean, the Wolves are going to have Conley back, and they said in the post-game things along the lines of, we stuck to the game plan, we weren't able to really capitalize on the looks that we generated, and yada yada. Basically, it was stuff we could control, we just didn't deliver on. We will see if they are able to do it on the home floor. All right. Thank you guys again, and until next time.